New year, new career. We've done this for the past couple of years. We're going to touch on it this time. The only difference is I've got travel nurse turned recruiter Brad McDonald with me today to talk through new year, new career, and what it was like when he first started. Atlas All Access starts now. All right, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me again, Rich.
How you been?
Oh, not too bad, staying inside right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Cold.
Yeah, for those of you that aren't around here right now, you're lucky.
Come visit Omaha. It's great.
Yeah.
All right, so new year, new career. You're thinking of jumping into travel healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay? You did it. So let's talk through some of those, some of the nuts and bolts of doing that.
Sure.
First off, experience. What did you have when you started? How long had you been a nurse? Like, what made you decide, okay, I have enough experience now to take the leap?
Well, for me, it's maybe a little different than some people, but when I got into nursing, I knew right away. Like, I had heard of travel nursing. The industry was still not what it is now, not as well known, and people didn't really pursue that as a goal with their career in nursing. But that was my goal from the get-go. So actually, I only had 1 year of nursing because I heard that was the minimum. And I got on the Facebook groups, and a recruiter from Atlas reached out for me. We just started chit-chatting, got the profile together, and I kind of used those last 6 months because it took 6 months. I only had a year experience, and so that's, pretty common. It'd be really crazy to get it after just 1 year.
Sure.
So I took those next 6 months and I focused on, okay, what would be useful for me to know before I go? What kind of patients have I not had or had a lot of that I need to jump in and help that specific patient to learn how to use this device or this procedure better? So I used those 6 months, 18 months on the dot after I got my first nursing job, got my first travel job.
So you anticipated that you used those 6 months to really kind of hone your skills so you were ready when you got into whatever situation you were going into.
Yeah, that was the idea anyway. I mean, obviously, it was still, a whirlwind when you finally go out and do it. And again, only 18 months of experience is not a lot.
Right.
So you didn't know what you didn't know until you found out you didn't know
Until
it.
you didn't know it.
Yeah.
So your first contract, was that in a similar sized hospital then?
No, actually. So it's crazy. I worked in Des Moines downtown, which was the busiest ER in the state at the time, probably still is. Then I went to Santa Fe, New Mexico, where population, I think it's the smallest capital city in the United States, if I remember correctly. Okay. It's about the size of like Ames, where Iowa State.
Really? Okay.
Roughly. But there's not a lot of cities around the area, so you get a lot of those outlying cities that come there. So it was a level 3 trauma center, so I think it wouldn't be as bad, but realistically, I had to do more traumas, and you saw more crazy stuff there than maybe even I did in Des Moines.
That would have been my question, is just because of that, knowing small towns, growing up in a small town, right, and the closest thing for us is probably 2.5 hours away, so like you would see everything, right? I mean, you've got to be able to, you have to be available, you have to be ready for anything.
Yeah, 100%, because they've got to go to you first no matter what.
Right.
And then maybe transfer somewhere, but you've got to stabilize before you ship, so.
Okay, let's talk about during those 6 months, you probably used that time to prepare yourself to actually travel, right? So talk about that a little bit. How did you secure housing? How much did you have just saved up to make sure that if you didn't get a job right away or something happened, talk through some of that.
I had heard of travel nursing, but I didn't know anyone that actually done it before until we had a couple that came and worked in Des Moines in the ER with us. And so I was just picking their brains. Well, how do you find housing and, things like that? What are my next steps? How should I prepare? And they would kind of break it down for me. But again, it was still a little new. We didn't have
Furnished
finder, things like that.
Yep.
So for me, I just started looking at places. I'm like, gosh, it's really hard to find short-term leasing that's advertised anyway. So I got creative back in the day. I said, screw it. Right before I started traveling, I got a Jeep so I could haul something, and just did a 5x8 trailer and said I can find unfurnished places just anywhere that can give me a short lease.
Gotcha.
And so that made it easier for me. I did that up until the very end, only did one assignment where I didn't carry all my stuff with me, actually.
Interesting.
Because there was different strategies you could use, because the places that were furnished short term, it was always concrete. This is what it is, whatever.
Right.
And sometimes they would way overcharge when realistically I could sign a 15-month lease, break it, and still pay less than if I would have signed a 6-month furnished.
And that is very common too, by the way. Like, I know that happens very often. Interesting. What talk about your mindset going into that too, like looking for that first travel contract, talking to your recruiter for the first time. That had to have been like very nerve-wracking.
Oh, 100%. At the time, I would, anytime my recruiter sent me any like pay package, I would use like social media. Again, this is before they had a ton of pages, and just reach out to my friends. Anyone know anything about this city? And so for me, you know, not knowing how temporary houses worked, never lived anywhere outside of Iowa and overseas for a little bit in college. So everywhere was new, didn't know the area. Just calling people, asking about different cities if they knew. And again, it was hard because I didn't have anyone close to me that could give me recommendations as far as where to stay and whatnot, but just get on the horn. Call everyone you can. And now in this situation, if going back, if I were to reverse roles, I would have talked to my recruiter a little bit more about that information and asked for help, because I know I do that all the time. It's not like she wasn't willing. She just, I never asked the questions.
Yep.
And now I know the questions.
And now you know. What mistakes did you make in the beginning that you wished you hadn't? Or did you? I mean, were they all just kind of learning experiences?
Yeah. Like, I had a crazy great experience on my first assignment. So I actually, funny story with that, just officiated a wedding about a month or two ago.
Wait. You officiated a wedding?
I officiated a wedding.
All right.
It was a friend of mine I met on my first travel assignment, fellow travel nurse. We stayed in touch. I actually introduced her to her now husband. And so I officiated their wedding a couple of months ago.
No way.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. I had kind of a storybook traveling experience.
Yeah.
I would say the one time, I guess, error, do a little bit, all your math when it comes to housing versus pay. Because I might have taken something that was a little too low where it was too expensive to live. So that would be the one thing. Go your cost of living versus what you're getting paid, and make sure it makes sense.
Okay, last question. It's scary, right? So talk through those emotions, because what you lived is what you're trying to do every day when you talk
100%.
to new travelers, right?
Yeah.
Talk through those emotions.
As far as being scared, like, I knew I wanted to travel, and I knew it was going to be scary, but like everything in life that's worth it is a little scary. Otherwise, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Sure.
So you just kind of got to get over that mindset and that fear, and just kind of give it some time. Don't freak out right away, because those first 2 weeks, that's when the fear, like, outside of only having 3 weeks to find a place to live, move across the country, plan all that stuff, that was scary. But then getting there, being overwhelmed the first 2 weeks, because 4 hours in to my orientation, like, you're good, right? I'm like, I have no idea where anything is. Yeah. And so after that, each time it took less and less time to adjust to the new assignment. So that fear goes away for me anyway, as subsequent assignments happened and I got more experience, and you just kind of learned how you got treated when you came into a new environment, which is usually pretty good for me wherever I went.
Gotcha. Did you ever have a bad one? Was there ever a bad contract?
So I've had places where I would never work again.
Okay.
But all those places, I at least enjoyed the area I was living in. Sometimes it's a trade-off, you know? Like, I will say, I don't want to throw any hospitals under the bus or anything like that, but I was working at a pretty prestigious hospital that was a little stressful up in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Loved living there, though.
Yeah.
Just an hour trainer in New York City, a couple hours to Boston. It was a great time. So.
Interesting. Well, and see, that is why we have quite a few travelers that are recruiters for us now, right? Those types of experiences and being able to talk through those things are super valuable.
100%.
And not that recruiters that haven't, you know, that are just recruiters that weren't a nurse before or whatever. But if you're looking for that type of recruiter, right, who's lived that lifestyle, there you go. That's,
I'm here.
Yeah. All right. I said last question. I have one more question for you.
Let's do it.
Would you do it all over again? All of it?
Every single thing.
Yeah?
100%. It opened up so many doors. I met so many people. I've seen so many things in that 4.5 years I traveled. I fit more life into those 4.5 years than I did in the rest of my life combined.
Interesting. Awesome. All right. Well, Brad, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you come back more often with us.
Oh, yeah. I'm in, bud.
All right.
Let's do it.
We'll see you next time.